Listen, I put this. Wanted to put this together today because there's so much going on in the economy, and I think it's clear to anyone who's even casually observing that we're going through a controlled demolition of the global economy. All right. Now, we just saw something that was very interesting, somewhat troubling, very troubling. As a matter of fact, we saw the United States government go in and say, scratch the FDIC in the $250,000 coverage for SVB and Signature Bank. Let's go ahead and just bail out the depositors wholesale. So if you're Roku, remember, we did the report. Roku actually had $500 million on deposit with a bank. $500 million turned out to be 26% of their cash on hand. Now, Roku's a huge company, okay? They're a big, serious operation. I have their devices in this house, okay, and I enjoy them. But I thought they were smarter than that, right? Hey, Marla, where prices headed? Higher? Yeah. Inflationary? Yeah, you're right. I was at the grocery store this morning. Higher is where they're headed. So Roku is a good example. They had $500 million on deposit with a bank that only guaranteed, the FDIC only guarantees $250,000. All right. In terms of if something happens to that bank. But the government came in and said, you know what? Forget about that. We're going to go ahead and make all of you whole. Even though you, Roku, were not paying attention to your own finances and actually kept all of this money on hand, we're going to come in and remember we're the government, we're here to help. That's you and I. All right. They're coming in and they're doing that based on tax dollars. That's how it's done. So get this, out of your pocket, essentially, out of my pocket, our money, our taxpayer dollars going to go to make Roku whole. All right. Call them up and ask them, can you get a free Roku TV? I'm sure they'll probably hang up the phone on you, right? Just say, hey, look, I just paid for you to get bailed out. Okay, I am an American taxpayer. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Okay, there are plenty of other names, maybe lesser known, that got caught up in that. Now, contrast that against this. Now, I know all of you have heard about what happened at Wells Fargo last week with the folks not being able to get their direct deposits. Okay, there was a glitch and direct deposits weren't going through. It seems, but I don't remember Elizabeth Warren. I don't remember President Biden. And I don't remember any of them getting behind a podium and saying, hey, we got to do something about this immediately because the working man, the working woman, they didn't get paid and they worked 40 hours. Okay. And they haven't been paid for it. What's going on, Wells Fargo? No. Okay. You look back at 2008 when we had all of those foreclosures occur. The Obama administration sidestepped the people who own the homes. And there's a lot of debate on that. Well, people shouldn't have bought homes they couldn't have afforded. I agree with that. All right. But if you're going to come out of government coffers with all of this bailout money, they skipped over the people who basically were being foreclosed on and gave the money to the banks, which allowed the banks to then go forward and still foreclose on the homes. So they got the bailout money and they eventually got the opportunity to resell the property. Okay. So they won going and coming, right? Why didn't the government say, hey, all right, we're going to bail them out, but let's just figure out what the arrears is in these mortgages and pay that off. That would have helped the banks, right? Not to the tune that they did it, though, because, again, they got to sell the houses eventually also. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a government, and this is just not the United States, okay? This is a change in the way government globally is operating. We're seeing the so-called Western democracies start to say, hey, look, we're kind of turning into kleptocracies. And what a kleptocracy is simply is the political leadership of the country starts to take the resources of that country and personally profit from it. And we have a concrete example of that. We have many actually, but the latest is actually Gavin Newsome. Gavin Newsome, he went out there and he was out. I mean, he praised President Biden, the SVB bailout. He went on and on. California Governor Gavin Newsome actually lobbied the White House to bail out Silicon Valley Bank and later celebrated the decision after it was made public, without mentioning that the firm is a backer in at least 3 wine companies that Gavin Newsome owns. All right. So, of course, he was, and it's not like he just said, look, and stay out of it since I have an obvious conflict of interest. Okay. No, he actually pushed this thing because he had an interest. You think Gavin Newsom would go to bat, call Wells Fargo for you and say, hey, a constituent of mine drove a truck for 40 hours last week, didn't get paid. What's going on? Okay. The Biden administration, they, quote, acted swiftly. Yes, they did. And decisively to protect the American economy and strengthen public confidence in our banking system. Is confidence strengthened, though? How can confidence be strengthened if, on the one hand, you sidestep the institution that's set up to ensure deposits, the FDIC, and on the other hand, you had to come in and rescue this bank? How confident can I be in that system if those things had to happen? You actually have Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury, out there today and yesterday saying how strong the banking system is and there's nothing to worry about. Remember, this is the same woman who once said she didn't see any inflation coming down the pike. It wasn't a problem. Okay. So I think you got to take what she says with a grain of salt. So we got Newsom out there praising this. Newsom is the governor of I think California may be the wealthiest state in terms of income. Now, how they spend the money, how much of it they keep, is a mystery to me. But yeah, so we've got that going on. And that's what I mean by a kleptocracy. If you look at this, the employees, well, first of all, the C-suite, CEO, and some of the other top executives at SVB actually sold shares, and Elizabeth Warren is making a lot of noise about that, as she should, saying maybe we need to investigate these guys because of the timing of those share sales. All right. Miraculously, they just decided to sell these stocks a few weeks in some cases before the bottom fell out of SVB Bank. All right. Again, that needs to be investigated. Will anything ever come of it? Probably not, because again, if you know the right people, then you're okay. So the path is clear. Another example of this kleptocracy, and I admire Peter Thiel, but he kind of got out suspiciously early as well. Now, what his people are saying is that, hey, they had some troubles with getting money moved around, and it made them kind of leery of what was going on. Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense. But he got out. Okay, a lot of people got out. And then think about the people, again, who were depositors in this bank. We're talking Oprah Winfrey. Okay, say what you will, she's politically connected. All right. There are rumors, I haven't substantiated this, but I've heard it from several pretty reliable sources, that Prince Harry, all right, was a depositor in SVB. Okay, so you got a lot of pressure to, make me whole, make me whole. Forget about the $250,000 the FDIC is going to give me. That would never occur for, we got several different, maybe 3 or 4 different legal systems in the country, depending upon how much money you got. And we definitely have different economic systems, depending on who you know, what kind of influence you have, and how much money you have in your pocket. Okay. So kleptocracy, remember that term, because unfortunately that is what our nation is kind of morphing into big time, and an unapologetic kleptocracy. Okay, we did it. So what? What are you going to do about it?